Hi, I'm Chris McCoy.
Hey, I'm Toby Sells.
We are the Memphis Flyer podcast, and welcome again here on the YouTubes. Toby, we got a lot to talk about this week, don't we?
We do. Let's start with some lighter fare. We know that everybody was losing their minds about the only thing that really matters in Memphis, Houston's.
Yeah.
And the Phoenix-based restaurant a chain announced that they were going to close their Memphis location after like 40 years. They did it abruptly, just like a sign on the door, no see you later, sayonara.
No, just fired everybody.
And man, people were losing their minds. I don't know what it is about Houston's. I never ate there. I never even walked inside there. Have you been there?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times.
Is it just the shit? I mean, like, what's the deal?
I mean, honestly, it wasn't that great, but it did seem like a place where a lot of people, a lot of East Memphians would hang out for a long time. And you would go in there and you would see Mayor Willie Harrington
Right.
like holding court all the time. And so it sort of became a place for Memphis power brokers to hang out. But I mean, it was just a high-end chain restaurant, y'all.
Yeah.
They were based in Phoenix, or they are based in Phoenix, right?
Right. And how good can spinach artichoke dip be?
I mean, it's just spinach and artichoke dip. It really is. They had a good French dip, though. You like a French dip
I
sandwich?
love a French dip, but the deli's got the best French dip in town. Fight me. But you were
It's
talking
true.
about Willie Harrington. Even during the debate, you remember Michelle McKissick, the last mayoral race that they had, she accused him of hiding at Houston's. It's
Yeah.
like he wouldn't debate, so she was like, Harrington's hiding at Houston's. I wanted somebody to make that shirt. Rachel Ford, Hound Dog Apparel, go make the hiding at Houston shirt. That's all we need. People lost their mind, but the kind of rhythm of these things is people lose their minds on social media, and then we kind of get to a base, right? And people are like, look, it was a chain. They never really. Patrick Riley from Majestic Grill had this kind of great thought on this. On Facebook, it was like, hey, it's a chain. They never really, did anything with the
They didn't
Memphis
engage with the community. They didn't sponsor softball teams.
Right.
They didn't do any of that stuff.
So
Yeah.
I say sayonara. I don't know, but so that was Houston's.
Well, and they said that it was because of the crime there. That's what they said that they were closing.
Right.
But honestly, no, that area is, it's right next to Whole Foods, the Paradiso. Folks Folly's right around the corner, which is the real high end,
Right.
privately owned, local restaurant. So somebody's going to move into that space. I'm not worried about that.
It's not the crime. Yeah, I mean, Folks Folly's still doing okay out there. I think that's just fine. It's somebody I saw on Facebook had kind of tipped the hat to all the Piccadilly locations, still thriving and doing well in Memphis. And they're in like these bad parts of town. They're like, I don't know, folks. They work it out somehow.
Yeah.
Also, we have the member net, of course. I'm just kind of going through here. Somebody on Facebook was selling this haunted poster of Audrey Hepburn.
So I'm sorry, the poster is haunted?
That's exactly what they said. They had taken the post down. I guess it got sold, but it was just like some Pier 1 picture of Audrey Hepburn. Said as soon as they brought it into their house in Collierville that they started hearing things around the house. They were getting touched. They were getting scratched. That's weird. There's also, you can find that photo in the Memphis Flyer this week. There's also a photo from a video. Nope, yep.
Oh, no, I want to ask you. Toby, you are our resident paranormal expert.
That's right.
As we've established on this podcast multiple times. Have you ever heard of a haunted poster before?
There are haunted items. It's a whole thing. A lot of haunted dolls. There's a really famous one in Key West. His name is Joseph, this haunted little sailor doll. They have to keep him locked away in a glass case. There's a
Unless he gets into mischief.
Well, he does get into mischief, and it's a fascinating. Go look up Joseph the doll. Anyway, the Jewish tradition of the Dybbuk box. So there's all kinds of haunted items out there, or cursed items. So But if I'm a demon and I put myself into a Pier 1 picture of Audrey Hepburn, I'm just not really, you know what I'm saying?
Really a lower rent demon.
That's a lower rent demon, right?
You want something like a phylactery or like a haunted, jar.
Yeah, or something kick-ass like a Trans Am, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
A monster truck, I don't know.
A haunted monster truck.
There's also somebody posted a video of what looks to be a UFO on the back of a flatbed trailer going down Sam Cooper. That's pretty crazy. Harder news a little bit. Maybe that's a little more interesting. Governor Bill Lee took some money for travel to go to a summit paid for by a conservative group in Florida. So they didn't disclose how much it was, but I can imagine it's food, travel, eats, per diem, all that kind of stuff. What I liked about it was he asked for the Tennessee Ethics Commission to look into it himself. Mm-hmm. Say, hey, was it okay that I took this money? his argument was basically, look, you've got the PAC and then you've got the nonprofit. They're separate. They have the same name. They do the same thing. I don't think that's splitting hairs. That's pretty clear. They're the same group, and that's what the Ethics Commission decided to. Is like, hey, no, this is basically the same group. You can't take their money, so he's going to give them money back. All in all, you don't take the money to begin with, but if that's as bad as it got, that's not bad.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I think a little kudos to Bill Lee. You're never going to hear me say that again. So.
Well, we're fair here. If I've praised the Bill Lee and I've praised the legislature before when they did good stuff. We need to reinforce.
I think
we
so
tell
too.
them when they do bad and then praise them when they do good.
That's right. In
the
this
carrot
case,
and stick.
it was pretty good.
He did
So,
okay.
Yeah,
He did the right thing.
he absolutely did. But of course, do you want to jump into the DOJ stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. What we do know is that late last week, Department of Justice, they issued their blistering report of Memphis Police Department. It was a 17-month-long investigation that began after the Tyree Nichols killing by Memphis police here. And so these investigations usually take 2 or 3 years. This one was shorter, 17 months, and that became an issue later. But what they found is it's just mind blowing, jaw dropping.
Yeah.
Use of excessive force. Disparities on policing black and white residents of the city, and the list goes on and on and on. But
it's 70 pages, so there's a lot.
And in there are incidents. They describe actual things that the police have done. I pulled those out yesterday for a cover story next week, so look for that. And it was a disturbing morning of going through that report, finding some of these things that were going on.
I read it on Friday after it came out, and that was when I said, we need to do a cover on this because there's too much in here. And so we're collaborating along with Kaylin. There's going to be a 3-byline cover story next week. Look for that. We're going to talk a lot more about that, but it's a big and disturbing story, and that has a lot of implications for the future of Memphis. And probably not great implications for the future of Memphis, but we'll talk more about that next week.
Right. Well, this week in the paper, you can go and check out. I did a little bit of analysis about what might be around the corner for this. So check it out. Basically, the DOJ wants a consent decree, basically to say, the federal government's going to be here as a watchdog, kind of over your shoulder as you implement some of these reforms. The city says we don't want that. Number one, it's going to be costly. Number two, who wants another government agency looking over your shoulder? But the city probably won't have to ever do anything with this if they don't want to, because we got the Trump administration coming in January, and he's a law and order president, as we all know, and so it's not likely that his Department of Justice is going to make Memphis do anything about this, even at all.
We're going to hear a lot more about that next week. But this week, Toby, in our cover story, has 245 facts about Memphis.
245 facts. It is the hardest hitting fact list that you're going to read in Memphis this week. I guarantee you. And nobody has more facts than we got, folks.
So many facts.
So this story came from the Memphis Flyers, part of a group called the Alt Weeklies, Association of Alternative News Weeklies. And so every year they get together and there's a big session. And it's like 50 great story ideas, right? And so this was one of them. And theirs was 350 facts. Don't think I'm lazy, folks. I got to 325, and then it got edited down to 245, so we're shortening a few facts on here. But when
you only got 3 pages.
So when I pitched this is kind of one of those evergreen ideas, right? Like, hey, we can just throw this in anytime we want. It's pretty easy to pull together. It turned out to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So, we've got this DOJ thing that came out, and the timing didn't work out. So it looks like we're just, putting up these random facts up there for no reason. But we're going to fix that next week, I promise. So, but it's a neat idea. I kind of thought, in these fact fluid times, here are just some facts that we can rely on about Memphis and the area.
Well, I really like the story because I'm a stats geek. I'm just a facts geek. Period. When I was a kid, when I first learned to read, the first thing I did was read the whole encyclopedia. We had a world book, and had a 1960 World Book Encyclopedia.
Sweet.
And this would have been in there. This was in the 70s because that's how old I am. And so I just, first thing I did when I learned to read is I read the encyclopedia. And I, to this day, have, am a repository for boring facts. But
I love it.
Also, the funny story about reading the 1960 encyclopedia in the 70s, this would have probably been 77, 78 maybe. And I ran up to my mom and I was like, Mom, one day we're gonna land on the moon. And Mom was like, yeah, we already did that.
Yeah,
Story of my life. Story of my life right there.
Little
But
old here.
I learned a bunch of stuff, from this story.
I did too. And what I did find is, it seems like a fact is a pretty easy thing. A fact is different from the truth, right? Fact is just like, we have to breathe air, we have to eat. Those things are
Right.
just facts, right?
Truth
So-
is emotional.
Yes, exactly. So you'd come up with some of these facts, and you're like, okay, you could slice it this way, dice it that way. It starts to get a little weird. So I said in the story, hey, if you have a quibble, if you want to fight, just email me, and we'll fix it. We'll do something here.
I got a quibble.
I'm ready.
It's not, and you acknowledged it though. You did acknowledge this that you said that the first rock and roll song was "That's All Right, Mama."
Right.
But I think it's "Rocket '88,"
Okay.
which is the Ike Turner song that was several years before that. But it's a gray area because there was a genre that was called jump blues that was basically like blues played really fast. I have a whole theory about all of this too. A big part of why rock and roll happened was these guys were it was in the post-war era, and these guys were touring, and there was also like after World War II there was an economic downturn,
Mhm.
and so they couldn't afford to tour with big bands anymore. So they just toured with smaller combos,
Mhm.
And also at the time amphetamines had been basically mainstream during the war.
I knew this was going to amphetamines, folks.
It's amphetamines. Rock and roll is amphetamine music. It's amphetamine music. These guys are driving around all night, going from city to city. They're buying speed and they're playing faster. And that's where rock and roll came from. Specifically Ike Turner's speed problem, but we won't get into that. Anyway, I think I just did.
I think you did. So anyway, That's All Right, Mama by Elvis Presley was the first rock and roll song ever recorded ever anywhere. See, it's stuff like that, right? It's like, okay, we can't
But
figure that
the
out.
demographic information is extremely valuable and
It's
extremely
insane.
interesting.
One thing I did find, total area of Memphis, 302 square miles. That is a huge city, folks. I need to compare that to like Boston, New York. Memphis is huge. We have way too many roads, way too much stuff.
Physically,
Those are opinions.
yeah, physically we're like as big as Los Angeles, but
Right.
there's like 8 or 9 million people in Los Angeles, and there's only like 650,000 people here.
Right.
One of my favorite stats: 1 in 30 people in America live in Los Angeles County.
Yeah.
So it's what is it? Los Angeles County has more people than like 30 states.
Right.
So
Like 73% of the rest of America. It's just a huge thing.
They're bigger than Tennessee.
All right, so 2020 census put us at 633 plus people. The 2023 estimate, 618. So we are losing population as other cities are growing around there. The let's see, Black or African American is 64.4%. White is 26.5%. The next biggest one is Hispanic or Latino. It's 8%. Median age, most of us are around 34 years old.
Mm-hmm. Well, that means I'm median age.
Me too.
Yeah.
I just turned 34. It's great.
Yeah, I just turned 34 again.
You went around the other way.
I did. I lapped it. Yeah.
Not bad. There's a lot of like healthcare and business stuff in here that's really, really interesting. The food and beverage industry in Memphis, it employed in 2022, it employed more than 53,000 people and made the GDP here of just the food and beverage industry. It was $4.9 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, and there were like 2,517 food and beverage industry locations across Memphis. It's insane.
So Houston's, go on. We don't care.
Sorry, dog.
We got more.
We got it figured out. Other big sectors, manufacturing, agribusiness, and ag tech. That's something that we don't think about enough here, I think. Automotive parts and suppliers. You got AutoZone, healthcare.
Healthcare is huge.
Information and tech, music and entertainment. 2022, this is Bureau of Labor Statistics. Really, really sexy stuff. 2022, BLS said nearly 23,000 people were employed in the music and entertainment business. Does that surprise you?
It does surprise me.
You're kind of in that realm
I
a little
have
bit.
been. I have been for a long time. I've been playing music in this town for 34 years.
Whoa.
Since I was born.
I was going to say, since you just,
Yeah, and it does kind of surprise me that there's that many.
maybe the entertainment part. Maybe it's not. I'm just thinking like musicians, but
Yeah, you see that and it's all music. But I mean, well, it does. I mean, the sheer number surprises me when you see it written down. But then when I think about it, I mean, it's like, yeah, everybody. There's the circles that I run in. I know lots and lots and lots of musicians.
Right. Yeah.
And but we need. I mean, like everywhere, musicians are struggling right now because of the streaming revolution. I think that's a big part of it. It's also much more expensive to tour now.
Yeah.
So we need the whole industry needs help. But there's a lot of industries that need help.
That's true. Go see live music, folks.
Yes, please.
GDP of music and entertainment in Memphis 22 was $2 billion, and there were 828 companies that were listed as doing business in the music and entertainment industry.
Wow.
Here. Tourism here, 23. We saw how many tourists do you think came to Memphis in 23?
I've seen this before. Like 3 million.
13.5 million.
13.5 million. I was off by 10 million.
Isn't that insane? And
and they come for the music.
They come for the music. They come for Beale Street. Honestly, I mean, it's easy as being a midtown snob to say you never go to Beale Street, but damn, they love Beale Street. They love Bass Pro. Yeah. Go to Bass Pro like Tuesday morning, and you're going to see like Nebraskans lined up looking at that tank. People love it here. I mean, I do too. I love going to Bass Pro and Beale Street too. But we don't think about it because I run around, I never see a tourist like a Quick Check or something like that.
Yeah.
Annual economic impact of tourism here, $4.2 billion. It employs about 44,000 people. Graceland visitors alone, more than 500,000 annually go to Graceland. It's the second most visited private residence in the U.S. after
the White House.
The White House. Beale Street saw about 4 million visitors out there. The city's name, this is interesting. This one comes from the Rock and Soul Museum. City's name is mentioned in more than 1,000 song lyrics and titles, making it the most name drop city in America.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. It's the holy city of rock and roll.
That's exactly right. There are some really interesting, awful stats in here on crime and homicide, shifting gears completely away from
the good
blues,
stuff.
right?
Yeah. Well, this is why we have the blues.
So far, as of December 3rd, there were 280 homicides in Memphis. Of those, there were 35 justifiable homicides, 230 murders, and 15 negligent manslaughters. As of December 3rd, we have solved 148 of those. That list goes on and on and on. We use firearms a lot. I found some. This is all from Memphis Police Department information. It gives you the top zip codes for homicides in there, and you can look around and see where those are. You can see where there have been no homicides in Memphis, which is also pretty interesting stuff. We got stuff in here about the Memphis budget, which is pretty interesting. If you're a budget nerd like I am. All right, sports. This is where I'm going to get Chris McCoy because he is a sports fan in Memphis, just like I am, which means we don't know anything about it at all.
Yeah.
All right. NBA team.
We have an NBA team?
We do.
I
think it's called the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
That is what I think.
Utah Jazz.
No, apparently it's the Memphis Grizzlies.
Right, yeah.
All right, so what city did they originally come from?
Oh, I know this, Vancouver.
They came from Vancouver. That was relocated in 2001. They played their first 3 seasons where?
In the Pyramid?
That's exactly right. So they've been in the FedEx Forum since 2004. We have
FedEx Forum is 20 years old.
Oh. Yeah. Minor league baseball team here is?
Redbirds.
That's kind of one of those, anyway. So what is their Major League Baseball affiliate?
Cardinals.
There you go. Not bad.
I like that. I like when I go to those games. I like it. It's the food, really.
Oh man,
I'm there for the food,
without a doubt. So I went to when I first got to Memphis. There were some folks that I had met, and they wanted to go to a Mississippi River Kings game. Remember the hockey team?
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, sure. I'd been to some Predators games and stuff. So I went with these folks to this. River Kings game, which is great. It's really like a fight, and then there's some hockey in between,
Yeah.
But I went to go get some something to eat, and as the concession stand, I looked up, and I saw on one line it said barbecue, and then on the same line next to it said nachos. There was a space in between. I asked the lady, I was like, "Do y'all have barbecue and then also nachos?" And she goes, "Barbecue nachos?" I was like, fuck yes. Oh my God. I could not believe it, dude.
And it was a revelation.
I sat there I was like, hey, have y'all seen this? Yeah, did she just make this for me? This is. They're like, settle down, man. We got barbecue nachos everywhere. So that was kind of my first like Memphis love, I think. But
Yeah.
anyway, tons of just straight up facts in the flyer this week. It's really. I think it's interesting stuff, but again, we're kind of stat nerds, fact nerds. So
That's
but
what we do. That's why we're journalists.
that's exactly right. Yeah, we do it so you don't have to. A lot of interesting stuff in there about housing also. But anyway, so go check out some facts here. But you wrote about what were you telling me? It was
Nickel Boys.
yes,
That's
Nickelback.
my film, Nickelback, right? That's my film this week, Nickel Boys. It's based on a Colson Whitehead Pulitzer Prize winning novel. And it is a really interesting film. It was the closing night film, the keynote film at Indie Memphis this year.
Okay.
And it's shot almost entirely in first person, meaning that you don't see two characters talking to each other. You see one character talking straight into the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And the point of view sort of drifts between two characters during the film, and then there's a flash forward, and then they change it.
Okay.
They change it also, but that's some technical stuff that film nerds like me really get into, and it's done extremely well. But the story is about these two young men in 1962 Florida who get thrown into this place called Nickel Academy, which is a reform school. And it's based on a very notorious true story about a reform school in Florida where they found like dozens of bodies buried in the back after they closed it down. And it closed down in 2011. It's opened in 1900 and closed down in 2011.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's based on a true story, but it's really, really well done. It's a little shaggy, but I'm married to an editor, so everything seems too long to me. But
here's the thing that I do love about Chris's writing. The reason I read it every single week. I'm not a film guy. I mean, I watch a movie every now and again. Lord of the Rings probably 400 times now, something like that. But those technical things that you talk about, that's stuff that I would never know about a movie when I go to watch it. Or have an opinion about how long it is. A movie is just a movie to me, right? But like as somebody that makes these things and understands the process, it kind of takes you a little bit deeper into this stuff that we enjoy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we can do that with food and music but film. I especially love it when you kind of when you're dogging on a Marvel movie and we understand like the process of how these things get made and why there's a million of them.
Yeah.
So I would just like, I don't know, people love superheroes, I guess, but you're like, well, actually it's a Disney money making machine and here's how it works. You
can pick up a physical copy of the Memphis Flyer, which we like. We love those physical copies.
I surely do.
Yeah. And your cover story reads very well in the physical copy. So you can lay it out and then you can look at it and you can learn those facts.
You can learn the facts, drink a beer while you do it.
Yeah, and or you can go to memphisflyer.com and read more about it. Everything. Toby, thank you so much for waking up in the morning and coming over here and talking to us.
It's the first time I've taken a shower in a week, folks.
See, we bring you the news, and we're clean.
We're clean while we do it.
Clean while we
Chris,
do it.
Thank you so much for having me, buddy.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you next week in the Memphis Flyer podcast.